It was an unusually chilly morning in New York City, the kind where the wind cuts through layers of clothing and makes even the busiest people slow down just a little. The streets were bustling as always, taxis honking, businessmen rushing with coffee in hand, and the subways rumbling beneath the sidewalks. Among the chaos walked a man named Daniel. Daniel was in his late 30s, dressed in a sharp navy blue suit, leather shoes shined to perfection, and a briefcase that probably cost more than what some people made in a month. He was a financial consultant, working at a high-end firm downtown, and he was on his way to deliver one of the most important presentations of his career. He stopped by a local cafe, grabbed a large coffee, and decided to walk the last 10 blocks to his office. It was a good day. Everything felt like it was lining up. But as he turned onto 32nd Street, something slipped from his pocket unnoticed, small, but incredibly important. His wallet. It wasn't just a wallet. It had his credit cards, driver's license, $200 in cash, a photo of his daughter when she was born, and a handwritten note from his late wife that simply said, "Keep going. I'm proud of you." That wallet held more than money. It held memories. It held pieces of his life. Daniel continued walking, unaware that anything was missing, already mentally preparing for the presentation that could change everything. But several feet behind him, sitting on the cold pavement, was a man who had been watching the world pass him by, a man most people never even noticed. His name was Ray. Ray had been homeless for the last 7 years. Once a mechanic, he lost everything after a terrible accident left him unable to work. His bills piled up, his savings vanished, and with no family to lean on, he ended up on the streets. He had long, unkempt hair, clothes that barely held together, and eyes that had seen too much. People walked past him every day, some tossing coins, others pretending he didn't exist. But Ray noticed everything. That morning, as he sipped the last of the soup from a shelter and tried to warm his hands with his breath, he saw the man in the blue suit drop something. At first, Ray hesitated. A wallet. Just lying there on the pavement. He looked around. No one else had noticed. He picked it up carefully, as if it might break. He opened it slowly. The cash stared back at him. 2 crisp $100 bills. Ray looked up and saw Daniel disappearing into the crowd, unaware. He had a choice to make. That money could buy him food for weeks. Maybe even new clothes. Maybe he could finally sleep in a warm bed. He hadn't touched that kind of money in years. But then, he saw the photo. A little girl, just a baby, swaddled in a pink blanket. And behind it, a small folded note. He opened it and read the words. "Keep going. I'm proud of you." Ray felt a lump form in his throat. He had a daughter once, too. He hadn't seen her in over a decade. She would be a teenager by now. He wondered if she still remembered him. He looked back at the street where Daniel had gone. He didn't know his name. He didn't know where he worked. All he had was what was inside the wallet. Ray stood up. His knees cracked from the cold. He looked at the ID. Daniel Harper. That entire day, instead of panhandling or searching for food, Ray walked. He went into office buildings, asking receptionists if a Daniel Harper worked there. Most of them turned him away before he even finished speaking. People looked at him with suspicion. Security guards threatened to call the police. One woman even told him to get out before she screamed. But Ray kept going. Because that wallet belonged to someone. A man with a daughter. A man who once received a message from someone who loved him. A man who probably needed it. Finally, around 4 p.m., after nearly giving up, Ray tried one last office. The building was tall, glass shining in the fading sun. He stepped inside, earning glares from the receptionist. Before she could say anything, he held up the wallet. "Please," he said, voice raspy from the cold. "I think someone named Daniel Harper dropped this. I've been trying to find him all day." There was a pause. The woman looked at the ID. Her expression changed. "Wait here," she said quickly. Minutes later, Daniel walked into the lobby, slightly confused. When he saw the wallet in Ray's hands, his eyes widened. "My God, that's mine," he said, stepping forward. "Where did you find it?" Ray handed it over, silently. Daniel opened it and saw everything still intact: the money, the cards, the note. "You didn't take anything," Daniel said, almost in disbelief. "You could have." "I didn't," Ray replied, softly. "You've got a little girl." "I saw the picture." "I have a daughter too." "I haven't seen her in years." "I figured, maybe if I did the right thing, maybe the world would be kind to me for once." Daniel stood there, completely taken aback. No one else had gone out of their way like this for him. Not even people in his own company. And here was a man who had nothing, not even a coat, doing more than most would even think of. "Wait right here," Daniel said, and disappeared into the elevator. 15 minutes passed. Ray waited, thinking maybe Daniel had forgotten. Maybe he went back to his important world and left the homeless man behind. But then the elevator dinged again. Daniel returned, but this time he wasn't alone. Behind him were two men carrying a bag and a box. Daniel walked up and handed Ray an envelope. "I want you to have this," he said. Ray opened it and his hands began to tremble. Inside was $500 in cash. "I know it's not a solution to everything," Daniel continued, "but it's something. You reminded me today what real integrity looks like." Then Daniel handed him the bag. Inside was a brand new winter coat, gloves, boots, and a thermos. "There's a shelter on 9th Avenue, Daniel said. "I called ahead. They're expecting you. You've got a room reserved for a week, hot meals, and if you want, I can help you find work." Ray couldn't believe what he was hearing. "I don't know what to say," he whispered. "You don't have to say anything," Daniel replied. "You already said everything by returning that wallet." Word spread quickly. One of Daniel's colleagues posted the story on social media, with a photo of Daniel shaking Ray's hand. The post went viral overnight. People were moved by the story of a homeless man who chose honesty over survival, who spent an entire day walking across the city just to return a wallet. Donations started pouring in for Ray. Offers of jobs. Messages from people who wanted to help. Within 2 weeks, Ray had not only found temporary housing but had started training at a local garage that partnered with a non-profit helping the homeless re-enter the workforce. And the most beautiful part? Through that same viral post, someone recognized Ray. His daughter. Now 15, living in upstate New York with her aunt, she had grown up thinking her father had disappeared. That he had abandoned her. But when she saw the photo, when she saw the name, she knew. She reached out. Daniel arranged the meeting. Ray stood at the edge of a park, freshly shaven, wearing clean clothes, his hands nervously tucked into his coat. Then, across the field, he saw her. Older, taller, but the same bright eyes. She ran to him. He cried like he hadn't cried in years. They held each other for minutes. And in that moment, the city seemed to stop. All because of a wallet. All because one man chose honesty over desperation. It's easy to overlook people on the street. To judge their circumstances. But everyone has a story. Everyone has a name. And sometimes, the people with the least to give the most. Ray didn't just return a wallet. He returned hope. He returned faith. And in doing so, his life was forever changed. So the next time you see someone down on their luck, remember this story. Remember Ray. Because kindness costs nothing, but can change everything. Thank you for watching. If this story touched your heart, share it.